والمحصنات من النساء إلا ما ملكت أيمانكم كتاب الله عليكم وأحل لكم ما وراء ذلكم أن تبتغوا بأموالكم محصنين غير مسافحين.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salaam alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for joining us for another special Ramadan program. We hope that you're inshallah benefiting from this holy month, and we are very excited to continue another Ramadan program with our esteemed speaker, brother Sheikh Mahdi Shahkulahi. Sheikh Shahkulahi, thank you so much for joining us. Salaam alaikum. Over to you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Jazakumullah khaira. Thank you so much for this opportunity to spend this third night with all of you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين. أما بعد, dearest brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, tonight in the third night of our study of the Dua 44 from As-Sahifatu Sajjadiyah, I will continue reading a few of the passages, inshallah, and providing some brief commentary. And we said the purpose of this dua is the Imam is welcoming the month, which means he's drawing our attention to those things which are worthy of our engagement, and it's to draw our attention to things that we may overlook. We look to the month of Ramadan as a month of great blessing, a month of great spirituality, and of course there are acts like the recitation of the Quran, the performance of the fasting, reciting of dua, the performance of prayers. But there are so many other facets of this month that that is important for us to be aware of, and the Imam draws our attention to that. So we arrived at this 8th section where the Imam is beginning to make requests now from Allah. The first thing that the Imam asks from Allah, and we kind of went over this last night, he says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa alihimna ma'rifata fadlihi wa ijlala hurmatihi. Yes, Allah, to inspire us with the knowledge of its excellence and the veneration of its inviolability. So for us to really value what is happening in this month, and to orient all of our body, all of our limbs in ways that are pleasing to God. Now, after that, the Imam then goes into certain specifics. So the first thing after that, the Imam states, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa qifna fihi ala mawaqit as-salawat al-khams. So then the Imam asks, Oh Allah, send salutations upon Muhammad and his household, and make us in this month attend to the 5 daily prayers, bihududiha, by the appointed times that you have made, allati haddadta, wa furudiha alladhi faradta, and for the obligations that you have decreed in this month, wa wadha'ifaha allati waddafta, and the duties that you have assigned, wa awqatiha allati waqqatta, and the times that you have specified. Now, all of these can pertain to the salat, because it seems like the Imam is speaking in the context of the salat. So he says that Allah, bless us to attend to the prayer, number 1, in the times that have been specified. Number 2, in the obligations of the prayer that have been outlined. The duties that have been assigned, and finally the times that you have specified. So prayer includes these dynamics of the periods wherein certain prayers are supposed to be done, the timing of the prayer, when the prayer should be performed, to pray on time and to pray in the beginning of time, and also certain obligations that a person, when they undergo the prayer, they have to ensure that they've secured them, and also a number of duties. So then the Imam continues speaking about the kind of the type of prayer that we want to be performing in this month. وَأَنزِلْنَا فِيهَا مَنْزِلَةَ الْمُصِيبِينَ لِمَنَازِلِهَا. And in the prayers, make us a light in the stations of the keepers of their stations. الحافظين لأركانها, the guardians of their pillars, المؤدين لها في أوقاتها على ما سنه عبدك ورسولك صلواتك عليه وآله في ركوعها وسجودها وجميع فواصلها على أتم الطهور وأسبغه. Says, so, and make us amongst those people who perform the prayer in their times as your servant and your messenger sent down and established in his sunnah. May your peace and blessings be upon him in its bowing, ruku', in its prostrations, in its sajda, and in all the excellent acts that had. And with the most complete and ample ritual purity and the most evident and intense humility. وَأَبْيَنَ الْخُشُوعِ وَأَبْلَغِ. So we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month for us to have a polishing of our prayer. Not just for us to perform the prayers, but Allah, we want to try and take our relationship with prayer to the next level. So why is that important, and why the Imam begins with this? Because we know in Islamic teaching that prayer holds a very important position. In a hadith narrated from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, it stated, لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَجْهٌ, for everything there is a face, the Prophet says. وَوَجْهُ دِينِكُمْ الصَّلَاةِ, and the face of your religion, your practice, is the salah, the prayer. فَلَا يَشِينَنَّ أَحَدُكُمْ وَجْهَ دِينِهِ, so let not any of you deface his religion. So an individual defaces their religious practice and experience through the discounting of the prayer or the removal of the prayer. And then he continues, وَلِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ أَنْفٌ وَأَنْفُ الصَّلَاةِ التَّكْبِيرُ, and for each thing there's a nose. Nose here signifies kind of like the pride of something. And the pride of the salah is the exclamation of takbir. Again, we have from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam a sentiment that many of the A'imma have shared. As-salatu amud-ud-din. The salah is the pillar of the religion. مَثَلُهَا كَمَثَلِ عَمُودِ الْفُسْطَاسِ. It is similar to that of the pillar of a tent. إِذَا ثَبَتَ الْعَمُودِ ثَبَتَ الْأَوْتَادِ وَالْأَتْنَابِ. When the pillar is upright and fixed, the stakes and the ropes will remain intact. وَإِذَا مَالَ الْعَمُودِ وَانْكَسَرَ لَمْ يَثْبُتْ وَتِدٌ وَلَا طُنُبْ. But when the pillars are not, the stakes are not upright, then the whole tent will collapse. So again, the relationship of prayer in the religion is the same way. It is the foundation where it allows everything else to kind of work. Which means that of the not only of the most fundamental things, but of the religious acts that we should try our best not only to stay consistent in, but to plant the seed in our children and to work on that, to be sensitive towards it, is the prayer. The prayer serves as kind of like the daily routine for a Muslim, because it's done most frequently. 5 times a day, spread out throughout the day, ensures that a person is not too far from the engagement of prayer, with the exception of the nighttime when a person is sleeping, and even then they can perform the recommended and supererogatory prayers. Which means if that foundation is strong, then it lends support for all the other things to be done throughout the other time periods of the day. When the prayer is not there, you have a void. And when the void is there, it's really difficult for you to fill that with any other activity. So this is what the dua is asking of us. First of all, we ensure that the prayer is preserved, because anything that the person wants to accomplish in this month has to be done on the back of the prayer. And here we're speaking about, of course, the 5 daily prayers, the wajib salat. So finding ways to strengthen that ensures that we can build upon it in the other things that we do. And I think it's because of that many of our ulama show so much of an emphasis in all sorts of spiritual practices. They show a sensitivity of this prayer, the centrality of the prayer. It's narrated from one of the great scholars, one of the great practitioners of Islamic spirituality, the late Sayyid Ali Qadi, rahmatullah alayh. it's narrated from him, from his students, that he states, if someone prays the 5 obligatory prayers on time and doesn't reach a high spiritual station, they can, they can curse me, they can express their frustrations with me, they can damn me, or in some narrations say they can spit in my face. This is narrated from his students. Again, from Ayatollah Bahjat rahmatullah alayhi, he says, if someone is persistent in praying on time, they will reach the spiritual stations that they need to reach. So again, sometimes the solutions that we're looking for is found in those simple actions. We sometimes we yearn for something more, but always we have these encounters that people come to the ulama asking for, advanced, intermediate, or complex spiritual programs. They always have a sensitivity towards this. And I remember one of the stories that was narrated from a student of the late Ayatollah Bahjat, that people would come from different cities to meet with him. He said in this one case, there was a man that would come from Tehran to these weekend sessions, and he came to Ayatollah Bahjat and he asked him, can you give me a spiritual program? I want to begin this journey of spiritual wayfaring. And generally, ulama, when people come, they always start them on something simple. And it's not because they don't respect them. It's because if you don't have that foundation, there's no point in them giving you other things to do. So the man came, and Ayatollah Bahjat told him, just make sure that you are attentive to your daily prayers and do them on time. The man was kind of disappointed. He said, I came all this way, and I came to see a man of great stature. Everyone knows this already. Every child can tell you that, do the prayer. It's important. He said, I left. After some time, I came back to Ayatollah Bahjat, and he said that, okay, now I want my next program, next regimen. Ayatollah Bahjat just said, go do your prayers on time. It's the only thing I'm going to tell you to do. After some time, the man grew frustrated, and Ayatollah Bahjat kind of made this offhand comment in a group, but no one knew who it was directed to. He said, some people come to these sessions asking for very complex spiritual programs when they still haven't mastered the basics of praying on time. There's no reason for them to be asking for that. So for us, in our journey of spirituality, in our journey of betterment, or even in our abilities to be a good Muslim, a good person, a good spouse, a good father, a good mother, a good brother, sister, whatever, it's found in the preservation of the prayer. So whatever request a person has, whatever lock a person has in their life, the prayer may be that solution. And I want to share again this anecdote from one of the other great kind of contemporary scholars and practitioners of spirituality, the esteemed Sheikh Hassan Ali Isfahani, known as Sheikh Nokhodaki. This is a young man came to him seeking advice. He says, I have 3 problems in my life, or three things that I feel like are locked in my life. I need to unlock them. And I'm requesting 3 keys. So he said, these are my 3 problems. Number 1, I want a successful marriage, a healthy marriage. I'm a young man of time of marriage has come. So I want to find a spouse that is suitable for me and have a happy, successful marriage. That's number 1. Number 2, I want the work that I do, that means the career that I pursue, for it to be a blessing. We say in Farsi, barakat dashte bashe. So it's not just about what we're doing, but that our actions have some sort of a blessing, that it has the intended effect that it's supposed to in our lives. And number 3, he said that I want to have a good life. So not only do I want a good spouse, I want my work to be helpful, but I want my life to also, I want to have a good life. So what are the 3 things that you'll give to me, the 3 keys? And Ayno Khodaki turned to him and he said, for the first one, that means a good marriage, the key that I'm telling for you is to pray on time. For the second one, which is for your work to be kind of blessed and virtuous, I also encourage you to pray on time. And for the third one, that you want a good life, my suggestion is again to pray on time. And the man said, 1 key for 3 locks. Each lock usually has its own key. And I know Khodaki responded that praying on time is the master key. It's a key that'll open any lock. So again, if we're looking for solutions sometimes to our problems, and I'm saying this to myself now that I'm saying it, I'm thinking, well, I have a few things in my life that I'm struggling with right now, and I'm turning here and there. Perhaps I should pay more attention to my prayers. That will serve as a solution, a master key, inshallah. The Quran speaks about a number of different effects that the prayers have, not just in resolving our problems in life, but it gives us certain things. One of the things that the Quran is clear about is that it helps us combat and balance the greeds that we have in life. So greediness is not just towards wealth, but it can be, but we can be greedy towards other things too, towards attention, towards power, towards control. So in Surah Al-Ma'arij, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna al-insana khuliqa halu'a, that humankind has been created covetous. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا, when ill or difficulty befalls them, they become anxious. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا, and when good comes their way, when they have good fortune, then they become miserly and grudging in the giving of charity and being open-handed. But all of these, it's speaking in generality, it says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانِ, and then it gives an exception. إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ, humankind is like this in their course of their life, with the exception of this group, those who are practitioners of prayer. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ, these musallin are those who persevere and are consistent in their prayers. So that's the first thing, that the prayer combats these different states and behaviors that we have, unfortunately. And the second thing is that it restrains the self from prohibited acts. Again, in Surah Al-Ankabut, it states, أُتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ. So read that which has been revealed to you from the book and establish and maintain the prayer. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, that indeed the prayer restrains from indecent and wrongful conduct. وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ, and the remembrance of God is surely greater, and indeed God knows whatever that you do. So again, in these two passages, the Imam is speaking about not only the importance of prayer, but a renewed attention, value, and commitment to prayer in our lives, praying on time, and trying to, again, polish that relationship that we have, praying with consciousness, with attention, with conviction. All of those things, of course, will increase our Ramadan experiences. Next, the Imam transitions to relationships that we have with other people. So he asks, وَوَفِقْنَا فِيهِ لِأَن نَصِلَ أَرْحَامَنَا بِالْبِرِّ وَالصِّلَةِ. Oh Allah, grant us success in this month to strengthen our bonds of kin and with devotion and gifts. So arham are in English called kin. So either they are our immediate family, like our parents, grandparents, or children, spouse, siblings, but it also extends to the relatives too. So the first thing is saying, allow us to make us successful in strengthening the bonds that we have with kin through the givings of gifts, but also through the devotion, sila, connection. So this is the first group of people. Again, the ordering, I think, is really important. So we know the Quran speaks profusely about lending that respect to one's parents. Also, we have the rights that children have upon their parents, for them to enjoy a harmonious relationship that is predicated on a reciprocal respect and reciprocal valuing. One of the challenges that we have where parents and children don't enjoy the relationship that they want to is generally we find shortcomings in the respect that they offer each other, and for them to value each other in their lives, to show that respect and to show that love, to show that affection to one another is incredibly important. So in this month, because we have an opportunity where people are already engaging in a lot of religious activities, we take advantage of that, of again, renewing our affections with one another. through the giving of gift and also through visitation. Now, I know right now we have certain restrictions, but visitation doesn't always have to be in person. If you can, great. And if not, at least maintaining that connection. So one of the things I think that's helpful in trying to establish those connections is to use the month of Ramadan as an opportunity to reach out. I know in certain cultures we have times of the year that we reach out to one another. In certain Iranian or Persian cultures, during the time of the Nowruz, the spring, it's customary for people to reach out to their families and to extend their congratulations and to pray and wish for them to have a good year, a successful year. But the month of Ramadan also, the Imam is saying, should serve that same function. They're around the same times, let's say right now, and it may kind of overlap for the next decade or so. But regardless of when it is during the year, using the opportunity of the month of Ramadan to reconnect with our family can be very powerful. And it has great benefits to our own lives too. Maybe one of the reasons why the Quran and Hadith speak so highly about maintaining connections with the family is because it can be very difficult to do that. Not because they are distant from you, but because of sometimes the complex and difficult relationships that we may have. Narrated from Imam Baqir, he states, Silatul arham tuzakkil a'mal. The effects that maintaining good relationships with one's relatives is, number one, that it purifies one's wealth. Purifies one's actions. So our actions have certain shortcomings. We may not do them the best way that we want. Just the maintenance of good relations kind of complements some of the shortcomings that we have and removes them. وَتُنْمِ الْأَمْوَالِ, and it increases one's wealth. وَتَدْفَعُ الْبَلْوَى, it repels afflictions and difficulties in life. وَتُيَسِّرُ الْحِسَابِ, and it makes the reckoning on the Day of Judgment easier. وَتُنْسِيُ فِي الْأَجَلِ, and it delays the death. This last one, I know many of you may have heard, that a person who maintains good relationships with the family, it prolongs one's life and delays the death. I think you probably, in giving of charity, sadaqah, many of you have heard that too. So maintaining the relationships with the relatives is incredibly important, because family serves as the first building block of a successful Muslim community. If a family is dysfunctional, if they are they have fractured relationships, it's obviously much more difficult for you to build a foundation of community where families are broken. So a focus again on family in the month of Ramadan. I know this may be one of the difficult things, but using that as an opportunity to try and come together, correct the mistakes that have been made in the past and mend those relationships. Again, narrated from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, through Imam al-Baqir, states, Inna a'jal al-khayr thawaban silatul rahim, that the quickest of the rewards for doing a good deed is for the maintaining good relationships with the relatives. So this was the first group of people. Then the Imam states, وَأَن نَتَعَاهَدَ جِيرَانَنَا بِالْإِفْضَالِ وَالْعَتِيَّةِ. Oh Allah, attend to our neighbors with bestowal and with giving. We all know, living in this country during the times of celebration of Christmas or other religious holidays, people are in a spirit of giving, and they tend to, I'm not sure in your communities, but there seems to be more of an intimate relationship with one's neighbors. There's giving of exchange of gifts. There's expressing the kind of like the season's greetings, the happy holidays. All of those things are, again, to establish and strengthen relationship with one's neighbors. The month of Ramadan, again, is that opportunity too, that we look to our neighbors, and though they may not be engaging in the month of Ramadan, but it's an opportunity for us to share our love and to share our blessings with them. So it's a time for us to reach out to our neighbors, not to proselytize, but again, to share how much we value them if we do, but also the fact that a simple giving of a gift or simple acknowledgement that this is an important time for us, I think softens the hearts and strengthens the relationships. We may live in certain neighborhoods that we don't know our neighbors, we don't necessarily care for our neighbors, or our neighbors are not good neighbors. But as a Muslim, again, we have the responsibility to try and extend that connection, that brotherhood, and that sisterhood. So looking for an opportunity to give gifts and to establish relationship in this month of Ramadan is really important. So one of the things that we hear in the tradition is about the responsibilities that neighbors have on one another's. Now, you may say that, well, these are shared in a context of a Muslim majority or a exclusively Muslim neighborhood. That may be the case, but I think the sentiments still extend to others. From Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he states, "Min husn al-jiwar tafaqqud al-jar." Among the good signs of a neighbor is being informed of your neighbor's condition. This doesn't mean to spy on your neighbor, doesn't mean to overstep a boundary, it doesn't mean to enter into any sort of private affair. But what it does mean is to generally know who your neighbors are, being informed, right? Maybe what they do in life, who's in their family, and maybe some of their hobbies and the things that they value. So being informed at least at that level. The next level is to maybe know if your neighbor has a need, something that you can assist them in. That's really where the riwayah is drawing our attention to, that if you have neighbors that are struggling, that have needs, that you can lend support to them one way or another, then you as a Muslim, of course, are responsible to do that. But even if you don't go that far on the offense, be proactive, at least try your best as a Muslim to be a good neighbor. Narrated from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he states, "Man adha jarahu haramallahu alayhi rih al-jannah." A person who bothers, disturbs his neighbor, Allah makes forbidden the smell, the perfume of the paradise on that individual. So maintaining good relationships with one's neighbors is also incredibly important in Islam. And this month of Ramadan is a time for us to again draw our attention to that. The Imam, after neighbors, then goes to وَأَن نُخَلِّصَ أَمْوَالَنَا مِنَ التَّبِعَاتِ وَأَن نُطَهِّرَهَا بِإِخْرَاجِ الزَّكَوَاتِ. Oh Allah, we ask that you rid our possessions of any claims that may exist. Tabi'at means either we owe someone something, we've taken a loan, or that there is kind of a dispute. Allah, rid my possessions of anything that may belong to another person. So I'm not, I'm not unjustly holding on to something that's not mine. And also purify my wealth, Allah. It says, وَأَن نُخَلِّصَ أَمْوَالَنَا وَأَن نُطَهِّرَهَا, and to purify it through the paying of the zakat, the extraction of the zakat. So now we know zakat in Islam is a Quranic mandate, a really important one that's generally coupled with the maintenance of prayer. From a fiqh standpoint, we know zakat applies to certain things when we compare it to something like khums. So zakat applies to wheat, applies to barley, applies to dates, raisins, silver, livestock, camels, cows, sheep, gold. But zakat as a concept is much broader than just these particular instances. It is an attitude of giving. It is to acknowledge that within our wealth, there are certain things that don't belong to us. Not that we've taken it unjustly, but just in our earnings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has dictated that some of what we earn, and we earn correctly, we have to give them to others because it belongs to them. Not that we are giving charity per se, but it is their possession. We are in possession of something that doesn't belong to us. It must be returned. So these sadaqat, these zakat that are paid, they are meant to be allocated for certain groups of people, not only because they are in need, but also to advance certain agendas and programs within the Muslim community. So the Quran says in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 60, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتِ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ. Number one, it's for those who are faqir. وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, those who are impoverished, needy. وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا, and those employed to collect them. These people who work in kind of like the treasury, they collect the zakat. In the times, the early Muslims, there were people who obviously would go out on behalf of the Prophet or on behalf of the Khalifa, and they would collect the earnings. So obviously they were entitled to payment for their services. وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ. And also the zakat is to be spent to those whose hearts are to be reconciled. Again, either those who have disputes, they have grievances, but also those that you're trying to build relationships with. The zakat can be strategically used to win their support and to proximate yourself to them. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ. And those who are, and for the freedom of those who are enslaved. وَالْغَارِمِينَ. And those who are in debt. So zakat can even be used as a collective fund to help those who are in debt that need assistance in paying of their debts. So think of something like Qarz al-Hasana that we have. Zakat can be used to help the financial advancement and proliferation of Muslims around the world. But we have to think in those terms, of course, and we have to acknowledge that this is the correct use of it. So hopefully this will help combat some of the hesitations that people have in payment of zakat or in payment of khums. Quran says this is how it can be spent. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. To be spent in the way of Allah. وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. And for the traveler, someone who may be traveling, who needs help and is stranded. فَرِيدَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. This is an ordinance from Allah, and indeed Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. There's a lot to be said here about the purification of one's wealth. With zakat, of course, we don't have time, so I'll just kind of move on. Then the Imam after that states, وَأَن نُرَاجِعَ مَنْ هَاجَرَنَا. And for us to return to the person who has left us. نُرَاجِعْ مَنْ هَاجَرَنَا. So هَاجَرَنَا means someone who they have kind of taken the initiative to turn their back, to leave, to disconnect. Allah give me the strength for me to nuraji'. Nuraji', the language here is very interesting. The Imam is saying, I'm not the one who has left them. They have left me. But Allah give me the success for me to return to them, as if it was my fault to begin with. So humility really is called for here. Those people who I have, I'm not, my relationship is not as good as I want it to be because there's just some time has passed maybe. I haven't reached out to them. Use the month of Ramadan to reach out to people that you haven't spoken to in some time. Hey, how are you doing? I haven't spoken to you in some time. I miss you. I value your friendship. Just wanted to reach out and wish you a blessed Ramadan. That's it. There's no reason to feel embarrassed. Or someone that you may not have a great relationship with because something has happened. Try and use this month with the help of others to reconcile. This is what the Imam is saying. So someone who has left you, you make the initiative. You make the effort. Don't kind of not in an uncomfortable way that you go in thinking that you're judging the other person or that you're better than them. No, but go in with that humility to try and reconcile with them. وَأَن نُنصِفَ مَنْ ظَلَمَنَا. Oh Allah, allow me to treat justly the person who has wronged me. So right now, someone has done a wrong to me. I am entitled for justice to be done. But in the pursuit of justice, allow me to be fair. We blur those lines sometimes. وَأَن نُسَالِمَ مَنْ عَادَانَا. And for me to show peace with those who show enmity to me. وَأَن نُسَالِمَ مَنْ عَادَانَا. My enemy, allow me to be not peaceful, meaning like to roll over, but for me to be cordial, for me to maintain my respect and dignity with them. With an exception, حَاشَ مَنْ عُودِيَ فِيكَ وَلَكَ. Except for the one who is regarded as an enemy of yours. فَإِنَّهُ الْعَدُوُ الَّذِي لَا نُوَالِيهِ. This is an enemy that cannot be befriended. وَالْحِزْبُ الَّذِي لَا نُصَافِيهِ. And a party whom which we cannot hold dear. So this is probably about half of the dua I think that we've gone through. And because we're out of time, we're probably just going to have to stop there. But I encourage you to continue, if you haven't already, to read this dua, to contemplate on this dua, see what the dua has to say as far as what you can accomplish in this month of Ramadan. And there's a lot of things that we can collectively do, inshallah, together. So I want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the right of this month and by the right of this dua, may we be amongst those who read the dua, who understand the dua, who act upon the dua, And may this month of Ramadan really be a month of spiritual advancement, but also for us to build relationships, to strengthen relationships, to reconcile relationships, and for us to extend that love and affection to those who are worthy of receiving it, inshallah. Again, if there are any questions or concerns, any comments, criticism, please, I welcome them, I value them. Reach out to the coordinating brothers here. I'd be more than happy to be in communication with you. And I ask that you keep me and my family in du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Shawkulahi, for that insightful speech. I personally took a lot of lessons listening to your valuable insights. Inshallah, Jazakumullah khaira, and thank you so much for benefiting the members of our community during the past 3 nights.
Jazakumullah, thank you so much for honoring me with this invitation. Allah bless you all.
Inshallah, thank you so much. آقای اعظمی، اگر که لطف کنید دعای آخر جلسه را قرائت بفرمایید. خیلی ممنون.
من تشکر میکنم آقای شاکرایی، انشالله موفق و مایل باشم. در ضمن برنامه قضا برای شب 19 و 21 و 23 هم درست شد و برادر ایمیل بفرستم و هر اسلاید $200 3 تا اسلاید به هر شبه.
انشالله.
خداوند از همه قبول کنه و 3 شب در پارکینگ مسجد انشالله برنامه درفتروف در خدمت عزیزان هستش. ما را دعای خیر فراموش نکنیم و عجل اللهم فی فرج مولانا صاحب العصر و الزمان. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد و عجل فرجهم فرج ظهور آل محمد. السلام علی الحسین و علی علی ابن الحسین و علی اولاد الحسین و علی اصحاب الحسین و 9 معصومین من ذریة الحسین علیه السلام. السلام علیک یا مولا یا غریب الغرباء یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء السلطان ابوالحسن یا علی ابن موسی الرضا رحمت الله و برکاته. السلام علیک یا مولا یا صاحب الزمان یا شریک القرآن یا قاطع القرآن یا امام الانس والجان. السلام علیک و علی آبائک الطیبین الطاهرین جمیعا و رحمت الله و برکاته. فرازی از دعای امام سجاد علیه السلام. اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم اشف كل مريض. جهت خوشنودی و ظهور و فرج آقای امام زمان اجماعاً صلوات. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد.
خیلی ممنون. انشالله قبول باشه از همه.
انشالله. التماس دعا.